Up, everybody? All right, let's wait for the YouTube to wake up. Let's make sure the YouTube's awake. Lucy, how you feeling? How you doing? You good? I don't think you guys can hear her purring, but this is one happy cat right now. This cat is happy. You can see her. She's in the shot. That's good. All right. I hope everyone is well. I hope everyone is having a good morning. Welcome back to Get Your News On with Ron. We're back. We didn't have an official episode yesterday, although we had a couple clips come out. But we just had the patron stream yesterday because I got home late from Portland. Not late, but later. Wasn't able to do a show at the regular time. Portland was a blast, by the way. Shout out to everybody who came to the live Jimmy Dore shows in Portland this past weekend. It was so much fun. Although I missed you, Lucy. I missed you. Yeah, that was a blast, which, by the way, we'll be back in Portland with the Progressive Comedy Tour on April 25th. So for everyone who was like, man, I missed you guys, well, you can see Graham Elwood and myself on April 25th. We're coming back with our stand-up tour. Maybe there will be a political vigilante game show in there as well. Maybe there will be a protest song or two played in a little rock club. That might happen. I had a lot of fun. We did some protest music at the Jimmy Dore show. I played it, and I had a lot of fun doing it. So I might do more of that. We'll see. I'll see you on the road this year. It's going to be exciting. But anyway, I hope everybody is well. I'm good. Feels good. I've been drinking like grapefruit water, like some of that stuff, you know, like the seltzer grapefruits. I usually stay away from that stuff, but I'm drinking it a little bit. Why? Because I'm not drinking alcohol for a little while. That's my thing. Giving it up. I usually do dry January, which is kind of like it's like a cheesy, internet thing where like people don't drink for the month of January to just kind of reset, right? And I do it. I just feel a little healthier when I just kind of take a month off, just kind of recharge. It helps me lose a little bit of weight, helps me get into a little bit of better shape. Not that I'm a huge drinker, but I like my social whiskey. It's something I enjoy. Something's got to kill you. And so, yeah, I'm not drinking for at least January, and it might even go on for a bit longer because I'm getting married soon, and I want to get in shape for the wedding. That's right, Lucy, I'm getting married. We'll pretend like she looked up because I said that. Like she's like, congratulations, meow. Really, she just looked up because she wants me to do this. She wants me to rub under her chin. That's what she wants. See? Yeah, she likes that. She's into that. But anyway, let's get started here. So yesterday in the clip that I put out, we talked about what's been going on between Liz Warren and Bernie Sanders. According to 4 anonymous people over at CNN, or who said something to CNN, there was a conversation between Liz Warren and Bernie Sanders, a private conversation, where Bernie said he didn't think a woman could win. Liz Warren disagreed with him. This hit the press. CNN published this. Let's do a quick recap. So first what happened, CNN just published that with no scrutiny whatsoever. They just published it, ran with that headline. Bernie said this. And then if you read past the headline, you find out this is according to 4 anonymous sources. 4 random people claim that Bernie said this in a conversation, a private conversation with Liz Warren back in 2018. Bernie immediately responded and said, that's not true. I didn't say that. Here's what actually happened. And he said that he was talking about how Donald Trump will weaponize everything he can, that Donald Trump is sexist and racist. That's how Bernie recalled the conversation. Liz Warren, for hours, said absolutely nothing. Why did she say nothing? She said nothing so that she could allow that information to spread. She wanted it to spread across the media. So she's like, let's just be quiet and not say anything for a little while and let this spread. And they got what they wanted. The Warren campaign got what they wanted because a bunch of other media outlets ran with this and said this is based off of CNN. So first, I mean, this is a really big game of no journalistic integrity telephone. CNN publishes something from 4 anonymous sources saying, hey, 4 anonymous sources told us this. Guess it's true. Which, by the way, CNN has a reputation for doing that when it fits a narrative they want to promote. They had to fire 3 reporters over Russiagate because CNN published something that was just based on stuff anonymous people told them. It ended up being bogus. They had to fire people over it. So whenever something fits CNN's agenda, they throw all in journalistic integrity to the wind, all of it. They don't even bother keeping a little of it. And that's what they're doing again here. So CNN just runs with that. Oh, a couple anonymous people said something, good enough for us. And then other media outlets reported this, and they're like, well, this is according to other media outlets. So they're reporting on, CNN's reporting on some stuff a couple anonymous people said. This is news in the United States. This is considered news in the United States of America. You can't make this up. We have reached a point where, I mean, truth is stranger than fiction. Like if I just took somebody aside, a general person aside, and described to them what I just described and said, this is what happened the other day, most people wouldn't believe me. They'd be like, come on, that's ridiculous. A couple anonymous people said something to a news source, and then that news source published it. So then other news sources were saying, hey, we're publishing this according to this other news source. That's ridiculous. Hey, 4 anonymous people said the sky is falling. CNN publishes the sky is falling. Then Business Insider publishes, hey, the sky is falling according to CNN. Who got this from 4 anonymous people? The media doesn't work that way, Ron. Yes, it does. We just saw it work that way. That's literally what happened. And why did it spread that much? Because Liz Warren was completely silent. So then Liz Warren speaks, and she says she vaguely addresses it and then tries to play the diplomatic card. I don't want to talk about this. It was a private conversation. And here's what happened. So Washington Post, the Washington Post, Jeff Bezos' newspaper, even Washington Post discredits her a little bit here. All right, so check this out. This is from Washington Post, by the way. I've said that like 4 times. All right, Sanders-Warren feud takes a turn onto the dangerous turf of gender. Okay, so here we go. So this is them recalling what happened. Sanders heatedly denied the report. That's the report that he said a woman can't win. His campaign manager told CNN that this was a straight-up lie. And here's Sanders' statement. It is ludicrous to believe that at the same meeting where Elizabeth Warren told me she was going to run for president, I would tell her that a woman couldn't win. 2 people with knowledge of the conversation at the 2018 dinner at Warren's home told the Washington Post Warren brought up the issue by asking Sanders whether he believed a woman could win. One of the people with knowledge of the conversations said Sanders did not say a woman couldn't win, but rather that Trump would use nefarious tactics against the Democratic nominee. Okay, well, here's what Bernie Sanders said that he said. What I did say that night was that Donald Trump is a sexist, a racist, and a liar who would weaponize whatever he could. Do I believe a woman can win in 2020? Of course. After all, Hillary Clinton beat Donald Trump by 3 million votes, says Bernie Sanders. Keep in mind, there's footage of Bernie Sanders in 1988 saying that a woman could be president. There's also Bernie Sanders. Keep in mind, in 2016, Bernie Sanders encouraged Liz Warren to run. He wanted her to run in 2016, and then he ran because she didn't want to. Because she didn't want to upset the Clinton camp. That's why Bernie Sanders ran in the first place. So why would he want Liz Warren to run in 2016 if he thought she'd lose? Why would he do that? That doesn't make any sense. He knew that Hillary Clinton would lose. He knew that the party needed a revolutionary, that it was time. So, again, even Washington Post, they're saying, well, someone that was there, they said this, and this matches what Bernie said. And again, we're still playing just a big game of telephone. In Warren's statement, I mean, all right, so let's go again. Here's how Warren addressed it. Hold on. Where's the Warren addressing it? Here's what she said about it. I thought a woman could win. He disagreed. That's the statement she put out on it. And then she tried to play the diplomacy card. I have no interest in discussing this private meeting any further because Bernie and I have far more in common than our differences on punditry. And I know there's some people out there, because I've gotten feedback from them from my video yesterday, still giving Liz Warren the benefit of the doubt, saying that no, she didn't respond to it because she didn't want to give any credence. She didn't want to give any validity to this bogus claim. She was taking the high road. You really believe that? You really believe that? Come on. If she was taking the high road, she would have addressed it immediately. Even if she would have given that statement immediately, she didn't. She waited. That was on purpose. She wanted it to spread. She wanted the soundbite to take root so that a lot of people wouldn't recall that it was refuted later. You really think she's not playing the political game? The person who has copied Bernie's policies, and by the way, constantly accepts credit for them being her own. She has a plan for that. You think she doesn't know these are Bernie's policies and she just took them? No, she knows. And she knows that he's too polite to say anything. He should be having an I wrote the damn bill moment every single time he speaks. No, this was calculated by the Warren campaign. And it is extremely dishonest. And even Washington Post is refuting you. Washington Post is saying, well, someone else who has knowledge of this, they're saying that's ridiculous. It matches what Bernie Sanders says. The Warren campaign got exactly what they wanted out of this. And what a vague, well, I said a woman can win. He disagreed. Like that doesn't, that could be taken a number of ways. I mean, she might have said, well, I thought Hillary Clinton was going to win. And he might have said, I didn't think she was. You know what I mean? Like it's such a vague explanation that Liz Warren gave. Whereas Bernie Sanders concretely says, this is what I actually said. Liz Warren has some vague recollection. Well, I recall saying that he disagreed. I said this, he disagreed. Bernie Sanders says, no, I never said that. Here's what I did say. I said this about Donald Trump. That was the purpose of the conversation. Somebody who has heard of the conversation matches Bernie Sanders' explanation. And we're still just analyzing what happened in a private conversation. And why are we doing that? Because CNN published something that 4 anonymous sources told them about. And why did they do that? Because it hurts Bernie. So there you go. And that's, I think Liz Warren, if there's any doubt that anyone's had for Liz Warren, I think that can be put to rest now. Liz Warren is in this race to try to take votes away from Bernie Sanders so that the establishment gets what they want, which is not Bernie Sanders. Anyone but Bernie, basically. Anyone but Bernie or Tulsi. Or Yang even. They don't want Yang. They don't want an outsider. They want an insider. They want Biden. They want Warren. They want Buttigieg. That's what they want. Or Klobuchar. They'd be fine with her too. But so that's the side of the fence Liz Warren is on. She is not a progressive. Not at all. And Bernie's got to rethink who his friends are. He really does. Bernie, Liz Warren is not your friend. This was calculated, and this was intentional. Joe Biden is not your friend. Nina Turner's your friend. Tulsi Gabbard's your friend. Ro Khanna's your friend. Liz Warren is not your friend. And she just took her gloves off and got in the mud. All right. So, moving on to other stuff happening today. All right. So, we'll stay on the election for a little bit. So, Edwin, you wanted me to discuss the Project Veritas thing today. So here it goes. We'll jump into this right now. So Project Veritas is that right-wing organization. I don't know what you would call them. Just they're like an online group, and they've got caught like doctoring videos before. I think they've gotten caught where like they had like actors be in their propaganda videos. They've gotten caught spreading all kinds of bogus misinformation. And then occasionally they'll get something like when they got that thing related to Epstein the other week. That was actually a pretty cool find. So, every now and again, there's But actually, that's the only, for instance, I can think of off the top of my head where they did something that was actually kind of interesting and worth looking at. I don't know if there's been another, for instance, or not. Maybe there has, maybe there hasn't. But I know that a lot of other times they've gotten caught red-handed, pun intended with the red part, cheating and making propaganda. They're trying to expose propaganda by making other propaganda. They've definitely got exposed doing that before. But here they allegedly talked with a Bernie supporter who works along with the campaign. I believe they have some role in the campaign. And here's what this person said. And this has been circulating around the internet. So let's get the volume up here.
These like MAGA people could even be re-educated.
I mean, we got to try. I mean, like in Nazi Germany, after the fall of the Nazi Party, there was a shit.
So they're saying this person's a field organizer, and here's what they're talking about. They're comparing someone asked them about the re-education of MAGA folk, and then here's what they had to say.
One of the populace that was Nazified, and like Germany had to spend billions of dollars re-educating people to not be Nazis. Like, we're probably going to have to do the same thing here. And that's kind of what Bernie's like, hey, free education for everybody, because we're going to have to teach you not to be a Nazi.
Okay, so that's part of what everyone's... It's kind of like they're like, hey, we got him. We got Bernie Sanders. Here's what one random supporter had to say, who does some organizing. Here's what they had to say, and now this changes everything. Has that ever happened in the history of any election where somebody's like, I was going to vote for this candidate, but then I heard this one supporter of them in a bar, and they were sounding a little extreme about a couple things, so I completely jumped ship. Has nothing to do with what that candidate said. Had nothing to do with the overall policy positions of this person, but one person, and it looks like they're in a bar, and that person, they don't sound super sober there. I mean, I don't know if they are or not. I have no clue. We don't even know if they are who they claim they are, at least as of right now. But, they don't sound super sober. And yeah, that's, first of all, I mean, and this should go without saying, like, the purpose of free college and college for all is not to, quote, re-educate people who voted for Trump. And of course, this goes without saying too, of course, not all Trump supporters are Nazis. That's ridiculous. Come on. Nobody actually thinks, well, a couple people do, but most people don't actually think that. A lot of Bernie people, they actually want to make connections with the people who voted for Trump, because we know that a lot of people voted for Trump not because they thought he was a great guy, not because they liked all the horrible stuff he was saying, but because they were so tired of Washington corruption and the Beltway, and so tired of electing these politicians who would talk down to them and then do nothing for them. Well, they're struggling in the heartland, that they took a chance on this snake oil salesman who was promising them jobs, who was promising them he was going to end the wars, who was promising them health care. Donald Trump said he was going to give everyone health care. So a lot of Bernie people, they want to connect with a lot of those people who took a chance on Trump and be like, yeah, this guy was a snake oil salesman. Here's the real deal. You took a chance on a fake populist. Take a chance on real populism and give Bernie Sanders a chance. That's why there's a lot of studies out there. A lot of people who voted for Trump, their second choice was Bernie Sanders. And they're open to a Bernie Sanders. They're open to a Tulsi Gabbard. So, and getting back to, what that person said in that video clip, which they were given like a leading question. The person was trying to get them to go there, like, can we re-educate MAGA people? That was the question they asked this person. The purpose of free college is not to, quote, re-educate Trump. The purpose of free college is that so higher education isn't solely reserved for the elite, and for the rich. And by the way, it's not just college. It's also going to be applied to trade schools and other fields of work. Basically, it's because everybody should have a chance to get the skills and qualifications they need to contribute to society. And that might be in the form of going to college. You can study to be an engineer or a teacher or, a facilitator of sorts or work in business, whatever it may be. Or maybe you want to be a plumber or you want to be a carpenter, you want to be an electrician. Well, there should be trade schools and apprenticeships and vocational opportunities for you that you don't have to go in debt to get that opportunity. That's the purpose of free college, and it's something that a lot of other societies take for granted, but we don't have here in the United States, the richest country in the world. So, and it's interesting to me, if you're going to be like, oh, it's so extreme. And then I know that there's some other stuff that Project Veritas has published where these alleged Bernie supporters were saying stuff like, oh, if he's not the nominee, Milwaukee will burn and stuff like this. Look, you know how many candidates have some people in their following that might take it to an extreme here and there, that might have extreme rhetoric here and there? Every candidate with a following. Every candidate ever with a following. I mean, that's just the truth. That applies to Donald Trump. That applies to Bernie Sanders. That applies to Tulsi Gabbard. That applies to Andrew Yang. Basically any candidate that has a big following and a dedicated following. Maybe if it's not huge, it's just dedicated. They're going to have some people in their umbrella that might take it to an extreme sometimes, especially if they're in a bar and maybe alcohol is involved. That doesn't mean you had some big gotcha moment for a candidate overall. That's ridiculous. The fact that this is even spread is just, and you know what's interesting to me too, that I think is worth noting? There are a ton of pundits. If you're going to get upset that it's like, oh, they compared people who support Trump to Nazis and okay, there are pundits who say things like that every single day. Like every single day, there are people, and I'm not saying that stuff offends me. It doesn't. I'm a comedian. It's pretty hard to offend me. But like there's people who, call Trump Mango Mussolini, who say he's the Nazi POTUS, all this other stuff. And I don't feel like that's wrong or bad or offensive. Keep in mind, the most offensive thing, Donald Trump couldn't denounce Nazis. Okay, that's way more offensive than what a pundit says or what some Bernie supporter supposedly says in a conversation that's being taped. Donald Trump, president of the United States, could not denounce Nazis in Charlottesville. He couldn't do it. That's infinitely more offensive than something a pundit in the center says or something a pundit on the left says or a pundit on the right says. But my point of bringing that up, why does Project Veritas really single out Bernie here and the Bernie campaign? Could it be because they know that that's the real threat? They know that Bernie Sanders is the one who can beat Trump. They know that. So they want to highlight that guy. They want to try to get a gotcha moment with that guy. And what's their gotcha moment? Something a random supporter said in a bar. And again, all this is alleged. I mean, Project Veritas has gotten caught in the act before. This person could be a paid actor. We don't know yet. But right now, or as of the recording of this, we don't know. More will come to the surface later, I'm sure. But even if it's totally legit and some supporters said this stuff, yeah, okay. I'm sure if you dig hard enough, you'll find some Bernie supporters that say similar things. You'll find some Liz Warren supporters that'll say some real extreme, ridiculous stuff. You'll find some Trump you'll find plenty of Trump. You want to talk about extreme rhetoric. Trump supporters have done plenty. All right. So, if you really want to start solving our problems, judging every political school of ideas based on the most extreme of the following is not a constructive way to do it. Instead, why don't we stick to the policies? Because, when you really stick to the policies, you find out that, we're not as different as we think we are. We all want to have opportunities. We all want to be able to feed our families without going into debt. We all want to be able to go to a doctor when we're sick. We're all sick of these endless wars that are sending our children off to die at the behest of oil companies, and is terrorizing the Middle East at the behest of oil companies and weapons manufacturers. We're all tired of that. We're tired of wage discrepancy reaching to the point that it was in ancient Egypt. We're tired of that. We're tired of the billionaires trying to tell us how we got to live our lives and what we need to do, like they have the solution. We're all tired of that. So, something like this is just, it's just a very lazy distraction. And I like what Aaron Matei had to say about this. Here's what Aaron Matei said over on Twitter. Thanks to the far right for showing us that you too can attempt pathetic and desperate smear attacks on Bernie. There you go. I think that kind of sums it up nicely. All right, let's move on. So there's that. Oh, this is interesting. So this was trending today. And apparently Blackrock is changing their tune. Let's check out this tweet first. All right, so this is from Bill McKibben, who I'm not super familiar with Bill McKibben, but I know he's an environmental activist, founder of 350.org. Biggest news in a long time. After a ton of pressure, BlackRock, which owns more fossil fuel stock than anyone on Earth, announces it will put climate change at the center of an investment strategy. A huge, if by no means final, win for activists. All right, let's see what's going on here. So BlackRock, which is a big, basically heavily invested in fossil fuels, as the tweet said, they're looking to change their tune. This is from the New York Times. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink, climate crisis will reshape finance. In his influential annual letter to chief executives, Mr. Fink said his firm would avoid investments in companies that present a high sustainability-related risk. Lawrence D. Fink, the founder and chief executive of BlackRock, announced Tuesday that his firm would make investment decisions with environmental sustainability as a core goal. BlackRock is the world's largest asset manager with nearly $7 trillion in investments. Mr. Fink's annual letter to the chief executives of the world's largest companies is closely watched. And in the 2020 edition, he said that BlackRock will begin to exit certain investments that present a high sustainability-related risk, such as those in coal producers. His intent is to encourage every company, not just energy firms, to rethink carbon footprint. Here's what he has to say. Awareness is rapidly changing. I believe we are on the edge of a fundamental reshaping of finance. The firm, he wrote, would also introduce new funds that shun fossil fuel-oriented stocks, move more aggressively to vote against management teams that are not making progress on sustainability, and press companies to disclose plans for operating under a scenario where the Paris Agreement's goal of limiting global warming to less than 2 degrees is fully realized. All right, interesting. So, obviously, this is not one of those things where it's like, great, these guys are wonderful and all is forgiven. They've made a ton of money off of fossil fuels, and there's a certain fair, constructive cynicism and skepticism, constructive skepticism and cynicism to say, gee, I don't know if the people who got us into this mess, who helped get us into this mess, and who got rich off of oil and gas are going to get us out of this mess. That's a fair skepticism, So I think like being like, yeah, we won. Yeah, let's keep a little timid. Let's keep a little realism and proceed with caution. That's what I would say to Bill McKibben in his tweet, right? But the other side of it, or not necessarily the other side of it, but another factor here to take note of is the fact that when the profit incentive is taken out of big oil, that's when we are going to see a big structural change. And if that's happening some at the top, well, let's embrace the unlikely ally and realize that humanity is all in this together at the end of the day. So it's like, okay, if this is happening, should we be skeptical? Of course we should. Should we question their motives? Of course we should. Should we be really quick to pat them on the back and be like, hey, you helped get us into this mess. You got rich off of oil and gas, and you're still going to be rich, but at least you're getting away from it now. No, we shouldn't pat them on the back. We shouldn't applaud them. But we should also realize, hey, at the end of the day, humanity's all in this together. And if the profit incentives are drifting away from coal and oil and gas, that is a good thing. That needs to continue, that needs to be amplified, that needs to be maximized, because we need a real Green New Deal, and we needed it yesterday. And by the way, a Green New Deal is sustainable. You know, it's like when I talk about municipal broadband and net neutrality. Speak the language of the businessman when it is necessary. A Green New Deal is an investment into the country. You can even call it a business investment if you want, because it is. It's an investment into a way of revolutionizing our energy. That's an investment for the future. And that's an investment in jobs. Lucy's so excited. She is going to try, it's crazy. I'm watching you're not going to believe this. She's trying to build a solar panel. It's the most adorable thing. You can't see it. My cat just jumped off my lap. She is trying to build a solar panel right now. Lucy, I don't think your mouse toys can make a solar panel. I know you're gluing them together. Good luck, though. That's awesome. Good for Lucy. She's doing her part. So there you go. BlackRock CEO, they're trying to get away from fossil fuels and subsidies. Let's not go kumbaya. They're a total ally now. Let's proceed with caution. Let's proceed with skepticism. Proceed with skepticism. Let's proceed with the likely skepticism that we need. It's not like you can trust these people as far as you can throw them. On the other hand, if these investments start to go in the other direction, that of course is good. That of course needs to be amplified, because humanity, we're all in this together. All right. So that's going on. And Jennifer shares this. Jennifer, thank you for sharing this. This kind of connects to, what we're talking about with fossil fuels. And keep in mind, pollution can be traced back to capitalism for quite a long time now. They go hand in hand. And here's something that's going on right in Michigan. And this isn't in Flint necessarily, where they don't have clean drinking water. There's more than just a crumbling water infrastructure in Michigan. There's a lot more going on. And Jennifer shares this. Here's a peek inside Michigan's most toxic zip code. Struggling to breathe in 48217, which is Michigan's most toxic zip code. Carmen Garrison avoids the outdoors because she's certain the air is poisoning her. As a kid, she often threw up and had a headache after walking to school in Southwest Detroit. More than 3 decades later, her eyes burn, her throat hurts, and her nose runs if she takes even a short stroll down the road. Why is that? Well, because she's among more than 7,000 people who live in 48217, the most polluted zip code in Michigan. The community is inundated with a toxic slew of chemicals wafting from steel mills, coal-fired power plants, gas flares, billowing smokestacks, towering piles of coal and petroleum coke, a salt mine, wastewater treatment plant, and one of the nation's largest oil refineries. And a guy named Earl who farts too much. All those things. No, look at that list. Yeah, that's insane. Steel mills, coal-fired, they have it all. It's all in this neighborhood. And where is it? Is it off the beaten path where there aren't people? No, it's right in the middle of everything. All looming over schools, neighborhoods, parks, senior centers, and a recreation center. A nauseating stench of rotten eggs, burnt plastic, and gasoline permeates the air. Heavy-duty trucks spewing harmful emissions rumble to and from factories all day and night, often carrying toxic chemicals and debris. And, I know for a fact this stuff is real because when we were in Houston with the Progressive Comedy Tour, Grandma and myself were in Houston, and a couple people from the local community radio station there, they had us on the air, and they gave us a few ideas of local things to go cover. And one of them was this park in Houston. And it's a park for kids where there are these just big oil and plastic manufacturers right in the middle of it. The air is completely toxic. And there's this park. And then there's just these refineries on either side. And then there's a couple residential houses right near it as well. Why? Because these people couldn't afford to move. And they weren't willing to give up their property. So the companies just said, well, screw you. We'll build right in your backyard. And that's what they did. And the people are stuck there. Their property value, I'm sure, has plummeted. And they're breathing in poison every day. And it was to the point where there's a mural that the kids in the area drew, where they have these smokestacks and these pollutions going on while they're playing in the park. They drew that because they just know that and accept that as their normal. That, yeah, your park has all this poison around you. And that's going into their developing lungs. And it's the same thing happening in Detroit. And how severe is it? People get runny noses and nausea just from walking around their neighborhood. You're supposed to walk around in a place to relieve something like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, get some fresh air. That's something that we all say. Get some fresh air. Hey, go get some fresh air. What happens when you can't get some fresh air? Hey, get some fresh air. Go inside. Go inside. Put on your air cleaner inside and breathe that in. That's the closest you can get to fresh air. This is happening in the United States, and it's happening because of all the production that they had to do in Detroit that brought the environment to its knees. And now we're at a point in our technology and in our populace where we have a way to reinvent our energy. But instead, they still have this at the cost of this neighborhood. I mean, isn't that incredible? And I'm sure there's neighborhoods like this all across the country. I mean, again, I was at the one in Houston, and here's the one in Michigan, 48217. Again, this is in schools, parks, neighborhoods, senior centers, a recreation center. What all do they have there? Steel mills, coal-fired plants, gas flares, billowing smokestacks, towering piles of coal and petroleum coke, a salt mine, wastewater treatment plant, and one of the nation's largest oil refineries. All in one neighborhood. All in one neighborhood. They probably can't even have a neighborhood block party once a year because it's probably too toxic to be out there. Hey, I can't come to the block party. I get nauseous too easy from being outside because of all the toxic shit in our neighborhood. Richest country in the world. Richest country in the world. And Detroit, Michigan. A city that once led in the production of cars, that led in manufacturing, that has done so much culturally for this country. I mean, you think about Motown, you think about just all the great culture and music that has come out of Detroit, and a lot of it is still there. Detroit still is, in so many ways, such a huge cultural hub to this country and such a very special place because there's a lot of people who did not give up on the spirit of Detroit, who stayed there and who are still trying to do amazing things in their neighborhood. And they're trying to do urban gardening, and they're trying to revamp the city, and they're trying to rebuild places like this. But they have a long way to go, and they have a lot of work to do, and they're up against the big behemoth that is corporate America. I'm with you, Detroit. I've been a fan for a long time, and I still am. And I can't wait to see you on May 15th. We'll be in Detroit May 15th, by the way. So thank you for sharing that, Jennifer. Thank you very much for sharing that. It's important to highlight that when it's going on in different communities. And again, I mean, I know there's stuff going on in communities that I don't even know about. I know it's a thing. It really makes you take a step back and be like, wow, that's happening right in the United States. And I'm glad we can give some coverage to it on this show. So let me see what you guys are saying. Brooks Rogers, thank you for the Super Chat contribution. Wish was more. That's very thoughtful of you, Brooks. I appreciate that. Big percentage of my caregiver income. Well, thank you very much, Brooks. Thank you very much for the Super Chat contribution. I appreciate that a lot. Tisha will be bombarded by gotcha moments for Bernie, and now the threat of war. Thanks, Ron, for your work. Yeah, no kidding, right? It's like there's a lot going on right now. And we're talking about a private conversation 4 anonymous sources mentioned regarding Bernie Sanders and something that an alleged Bernie Sanders supporter said. Yeah, it's interesting is one way to put it. By the way, according to my numbers here, 0 people are watching. I don't know. I don't know if I'm offline right now or if there's a mistake going on. But it's saying that no one's watching me. Hey, if you're watching me, say something in the chat right now. Say something if you're watching, if you're here. And Brooks, thank you very much for the Super Chat contribution. Tisha, thank you very much for the Super Chat contribution. Edwin and Jennifer, thank you very much for today's articles. Guys, this has been Get Your News On with Ron. You guys tweet me the ideas, drop in our Reddit sub section. That's how we build the show. Tour dates, I got to mention my tour dates, y'all, because they're happening. First of all, January 25th, we're starting right in our backyard. That's Grandma Wood and myself. We're going to be at JR's Comedy Club in Santa Clarita, California. Tickets available at ronplacone.com. February 8th, Tucson, Arizona. February 29th, San Francisco, California. March 12th, Orlando, Florida. March 13th, Tampa, Florida. Tickets available now. We finally got you confirmed, Tampa, and tickets are available. So March 12th, Orlando. March 13th, Tampa. March 14th, Miami. All those tickets are available now. Don't wait. Pick them up. April 10th, I'll be in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. April 24th, Seattle, Washington. April 25th, Portland, Oregon. Get those tickets, Portland. Do not wait. May 14th, Indianapolis, Indiana. May 15th, Detroit, Michigan. Can't wait to see you, Detroit. And May 16th, we're going to be in Cleveland. Tickets are not available yet, but they will be available very, very soon. But mark your calendar for May 16th, Cleveland. June 19th, Louisville, Kentucky. And we'll have some more dates around that run available very soon. Nashville, Tennessee, hold tight. Atlanta, Georgia, hold tight. July 11th, Chicago, Illinois. July 12th, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. August, hold tight. We're confirming some dates, but DC, Philadelphia, Richmond, Virginia, we're coming. September 10th, New York City is confirmed. Tickets will be available soon. And we should be coming back to Boston. We'll be coming to some other parts on the East Coast. And October, we'll be coming at you, Madison and Minnesota. A little far out yet, but we should have all tickets available very, very soon. Krillin, thank you very much for the Super Chat contribution. Pollution is our #1 export to China. If you want to support the show on the sustainability end, please do consider becoming a patron. Patreon.com/Ron Placone. For a Give What You Can level, you get all kinds of exclusive content, including my album for download in its entirety. You get a patrons-only stream once a week where I only respond to what the patrons drop. You get dialogues between myself and my cat Lucy before they're illustrated. Full stand-up clips not available anywhere else. All kinds of cool stuff for a Give What You Can level, and you help me expand this show. I'm trying to do a music series where I interview musicians about 2020. I'm trying to do mini documentaries around municipal broadband, and I've teamed up with Right Brain Studios to do that. But we need resources and support for that because this is going to take camera people and production folks and editors and all that stuff. And so patreon.com/Ron Placone if you are so able. And guys, I have a special guest that has something to say. And, they actually asked for permission, which is rare. They usually do not do that. Usually they don't ask permission. So I'm going to sign off and turn it over to them. Apparently they have the truth behind what really went down. They didn't get specific about what they're referring to or what really went down, but apparently they know the truth. I don't know. My contributors, they're kind of out there. I don't know, but we got a special guest. So I'm going to sign off. You know the drill. Lucy says meow. I say peace. I will see you guys tomorrow, same time, 2 p.m. Eastern time, 11 a.m. Pacific time. This has been Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first for your curated streaming news show. And I hope you'll hear our contributor out here because apparently they're going to set the record straight on a few things. Lucy says meow. I say peace. Peace. Hello, it is me, Chaos Agent 11. I'm here to set the record straight on a couple things. Actually, just mainly one thing. By now, you probably heard that Liz Warren and Bernie Sanders apparently had conversation, where Bernie Sanders said women cannot be president. This was based off of 4 anonymous random people who said to CNN, hey, we heard this conversation. It happened, we swear. And then CNN was like, I don't know. And then the people were like, hey, no, it's bad against Bernie Sanders. And CNN was like, okay, we're in. That's what happened. Who were these 4 anonymous sources, you asked? Me. I was anonymous source. How many source was I? 4. I was all 4 sources. First, I did a random Twitter account as Chaos Agent 11, and I was like, no, seriously, I heard the conversation. I was there. Trust me. I have sold much discourse. And they were like, okay, we buy it. Then I came back as Jane. I don't know who Jane is, but I was Jane, and I was like, oh, yeah, I heard conversation as well. That is legit. He totally said that. Then I came back as Joe. They were like, who, Joe Biden? And I was like, no, a different Joe. Not Joe Biden, my employer, different Joe. And Joe was a little more out there. Joe was like, yeah, man, he said that. And then he was like, by the way, I'm really tired of PC culture and outrage is too much. And I enjoy the comedy stylings of Bill Maher. That was what Bernie Sanders said next, according to Joe. So Joe, he was number 3. And then there was a 4th source, and that 4th source was Bill. Bill was like, yeah, dude, Bernie totally said that. And then he spiked a football for no reason. That's what Bill claimed. And CNN was like, what an opportunity. We are going to spread this with no analysis whatsoever. It's so amazing. You can just be anonymous. You tell them something they want to hear. You just disguise yourself as 4 people. They publish it. So now you know the truth. Liz Warren's source, me. It was me. I didn't even know conversation happened in 2018. I just made that up, hoping they hung out at some point. They did, so I won. Chaos Zone. Black Cat, what do you want? What do you want, Black Cat? I don't know what Black Cat wants. She's meowing. Anyway, you know the drill. Meow says Black Cat, and I say Chaos